So, you know, this morning it's about 7:25 in the morning. I have to basically, you just heard my alarm go off there. I have to get ready for work. I got to be at work at 11, but I have to take the 8:41 bus because if I take the 9:41 bus, I'll be about 4 or 5 minutes late. And the way this bus system is, sometimes you never know. But anyway, I wanted to come on here and talk some news, some wrestling news going on. And of course, the big news coming out of the week is the Endeavor WWE merger, and of course, what happened the day of said announcement at Raw with, the talk of Vince being heavily involved. What that means, we don't really know except for the rewrites and some things being scrapped here and there. But, again, to me, it's like, you could say he was involved and I'd believe it, but how much, besides what people are reporting, was he involved outside of a few things here and there? And maybe the fact it was just overwhelming exhaustion on everybody's part. And perhaps maybe he was involved, which I don't doubt he probably was. He probably felt that he was helping out. In fact, some people even brought that up, like maybe he just believed he was helping out and it just didn't turn out the way, we were, he was probably expecting or anybody else was expecting, because of high expectations and stuff. Anyway, outside of that, the news about Endeavor and WWE, coming together, and UFC and UFC, I should say, and WWE being under the same umbrella, the same company, a spin-off of Endeavor, by the beginning of July, end of the year of 2023, beginning of 2024. One thing that's been really been riding, I should say, a wave of momentum is, a lot of fans firm to believe, I should say, that since Endeavor is kind of technically, technically in a sense the new owners, not officially yet, but close to it, basically to where they could have enough say in some matters currently, that a lot of fans feel that, basically they have the power to #FireVince, remove Vince, if you will. And look, when the deal is finalized at the beginning of July, end of the year at the latest, then yeah, there's no doubt, Ari Emanuel will have that power. Whether or not Vince, can be Teflon proof or bulletproof in some cases, he's not, bulletproof or Teflon proof to being terminated or being laid off, as it's being rumored. That may occur and stuff. But so I look at folks and I look at them and say, look, as I've mentioned before, tomorrow night on SmackDown, that's going to be another telltale sign. If that SmackDown, even at 2 hours, is a lot better than Raw was, then you'll know, okay, maybe it was a one-time deal. Maybe we don't have that much to worry about, hopefully. Because I think Vince's priority, his main priority, outside of that, Raw after Mania, I think his main priority is going to try to get this deal finalized. Like, he's going to be too occupied with that, in a sense, to really want to throw his weight around going forward. I mean, I'm not stating that he's not going to probably poke his head in here and there if he has to, once in a while, to see how things are going and maybe give a suggestion here and there, whether or not that suggestion or suggestions screw things up and everything. That's for the foreseeable future for us to guess and everything and wonder about. But I think this deal, as the weeks and everything go on, it's going to have his attention more so than anything, So I think the best that we're going to get is him probably calling up, making some suggestions, maybe texting back and forth with Hunter and Bruce and saying, hey, do this, do that, for these segments or for these people. And that's probably about it. But, as far as, Endeavor goes, and when it comes to maybe, Vince's future and everything, like I said, obviously, it's been reported that they've been made very aware of what's going on. True, they're not going to say anything because they don't want to soil this transaction and have it get mired in controversy along the way. But I guarantee you, Ari Emanuel has probably talked to Vince and said, Vince, you know, if both of us don't want this thing to be looked down upon as something maybe that's a mistake on both our ends or on our end here in Denver, maybe you need to back off of creative for just a bit. I mean, we understand maybe you were thinking, you probably felt you were helping your son-in-law out. That's great. But you know what? Kind of back off a little bit and let him and his team, you know, do what they have to do from here on in. Like, maybe they're going to tell him, as I've mentioned before, to just lay low. And, you know, he has to, you know, make a few suggestions here and there. But just lay low and let his son-in-law, you know, handle the process and everything, you know, going forward. And then maybe after this transaction is done, we could probably see what Vince's future is going to lie. You know, maybe, you know, when it's all said and done, he says, hey, I'm going to be involved at a higher level with creative and all that, at least hinting at that. I don't think that's going to be necessarily, it's like he, you know, or necessarily true, I should say, because, you know, he could say that now and everything, believing that might be true in his mind. But I think, honestly, what's going to happen is he's going to be more focused on, you know, the whole UFC, WWE thing and being chairman, second to third under Ari Emanuel and all that. I think that's going to take more of his time. You know, I really do. I think that's going to take more of his time. And he's going to be more focused on that than anything. Again, I'm not saying he's not going to poke his head in once in a while if he has to, but hopefully when he does, you know, Hunter and his team will have months and weeks, you know, worth of planning set in stone to where even Vince, if he tries to make a suggestion or change here and there, he's not going to be able to because, you know, there's too much going on that he's not going to be able to be like, well, I can't really change much here. I can't really do much here. You know, I can make a suggestion here, you know, and there, but that's about it. You know, so I look at the fact that with this Endeavor situation and them being made very aware, and you know, you have fans coming out with the hashtag FireVince and chanting FireVince and stuff like that. I think in the long run, fans are going to be in for a surprise, and not a negative one. If, you know, for anybody that's thinking that, no, not a negative one, but they would be in for a genuine, I should say, surprise. That hey, maybe we shot ourselves in the foot too soon. You know, maybe we, you know, overreacted too soon. Because I guarantee you that if SmackDown tomorrow night and Raw next Monday, you know, turns out to be better than, you know, this past Monday was, and feels more like, okay, this is what we're used to, then I hate to say it, you know, the overreaction and everything that people had to Vince being there, maybe only for this one time, you know, is going to be very similar and identical to how fans felt about, you know, the idea of Saudi Arabia being the new owners. I mean, remember how the whole internet went out of whack when that news erupted. I think, what was it, earlier this year or late last year, how that news erupted, and everyone's like, oh God, it's over, it's the end, da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden, not even 24 hours later, yeah, we were all pretty much overreacting over nothing. And that's it. That's it. It's pretty much, oh, we were all overreacting over nothing. We were made fools of, okay? We were made fools of. And if SmackDown and Raw this tomorrow night and this upcoming Monday turn out to be, you know, better than they were before, turn out to be something that we're more accustomed to under Triple H, then I think a lot of us are going to have to look back at those videos that we've done, those statements we've made, and be like, okay, maybe we overreacted, you know, we took it out of context, all right, you know, if, you know, I guarantee you this, I can feel this, that even though some of us, if not many of us, know that Vince may stick his head in once in a while, that I've got a feeling that some of us will be like, look, if he just pokes his hand in once in a while and to give a suggestion of this or a final call on that, then fine, we don't have a problem. We don't have a problem. You know, as long as mostly it's under Triple H. So, because again, I think he's gonna put things down. He's gonna make sure things are done in a way that even if his father-in-law comes in to make a suggestion, you know, his father-in-law is not going to have an easy time to do that, and he's just going to have to go with what his son-in-law is presenting. You know, you might say, oh, well, that's not the case. He might look at this and, oh, he might look at something and go like, nope, this doesn't suit me. And I'm not saying he wouldn't do that, but seriously, his son-in-law is going to have more time on his hands than Vince will to be like, and Vince will be like, oh, I want to change something, but I don't know what to change. So, I don't think we have any, as I mentioned before, I don't think we have anything to worry about when it comes to tomorrow night on SmackDown or even this Monday, because if Endeavor is well aware of what's been going on in the past 24-something hours, and they see, or they hear about, fans petitioning and hashtagging FireVince, fans chanting FireVince at NXT, fans bombarding the Bumps live stream chat with FireVince, and all that. I guarantee you that fans tomorrow night, even if the SmackDown is good, which I have no doubt it might be better than Raw. I got a feeling that despite the SmackDown being good, you're going to have fans chanting FireVince, FireVince, FireVince so much that, when they try to mute it, they won't have time to do it. So yeah, I look at the fact that, Endeavor, with reports saying they're made very much aware, and even though they won't publicly say anything, they're probably going to take Vince aside and say, look, man, we're in the progression of making this transaction a reality. We don't need any kind of controversy ruining it or soiling it. So please keep your fingers off the pulse, if you will, when it comes to creative. Like if you have to stick your head in there once in a while, that's fine, but leave it to your son-in-law. That's what we're investing in. And that might be what's going on. I mean, again, like I said, if SmackDown tomorrow night turns out to be a lot better, and then Raw following 3 days later turns out to be a lot better, I guarantee you, right now, fans are going to be looking at themselves in the mirror and being like, okay, I overreacted. I shot myself in the foot too soon. So yeah, I think, honestly, Endeavor, when it's all said and done with the deal transaction, yeah, Vince's future, he might want to reconsider what he does, he might want to reconsider what he does creatively, like, making suggestions or final says and all that. He might want to, be a little careful with that, because, if Endeavor is being made aware of what's happening right now, while the transaction's just, beginning and everything, and in the progression of starting, then then honestly, when it becomes a reality in July, I don't think they're going to tolerate this kind of stuff. And with rumors afloat that layoffs may happen, mostly, office internally in the offices, I believe, more so than anything, because they're going to be merging departments into one, divisions and departments into one, I should say. I have no doubt they're going to look back at this Vince situation. There's no doubt in my mind fans are going to continue it for months to come, even if things get better, which I believe they will. And they're going to be like, well, Vince, you bring too much controversy. It seems that every time you touch creative, even in a suggestion matter here and there, it causes trouble. We don't need that with us. We need to let you go. And the silver lining for Vince is, okay, he gets let go. He still makes money. That's the silver lining. He still makes money. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think with Endeavor knowing what's going on now, pretty much being made aware almost every day and everything, even R.A. Emanuel pretty much being tagged every time now, probably with hashtag Vince on Twitter and social media, they're aware, and I'm sure they've been talking to him, and I'm sure we won't have to worry about anything come Friday or even Monday. In fact, if anything was happening, don't you think we'd hear about it by now by our trusted outlets like Fightful and PW Insider? Don't you think we've been hearing about it? Of course we would. But we're not. We're not. That might change by the time you watch this video, but we're not hearing anything, so I don't think we have anything to really worry about. I don't. I think the only contact Vince will have is by phone or, text, well, basically by phone and text and phone call to see how things are going and make a few things here and there. So, that's just my opinion. Again, I don't believe any of the reports of not fans, but talent, considering, requesting the release and all that. I don't buy any of that. I really don't. Because again, when you're tired and pretty much exhausted over a very strenuous week, especially when it comes to things like WrestleMania, which is the Super Bowl of professional wrestling, sports entertainment for you guys, and you're doing all these media rounds and appearances and stuff like that. Of course, when you're tired and exhausted, you're going to vent your frustrations. You're going to say things you don't want to say, you don't mean, because you're tired and you just want to rest. So, again, I don't think, honestly, we have, anything to really be concerned about, for a while. And again, as I mentioned, in a video I did the other day while I was waiting for the bus to go back home from the transit center to Newman, and then did the rest of that on the walk home from the bus stop, I said basically, look, fans, I basically said, look, I had a feeling fans were going to get some backlash because of the reactions, and boy did they. They really did. So, again, I'm not going to say things are going to get better, because, I'm not going to straight up tell you they're going to get better, but I will say that, history has shown us that when a parent company gets wind of something controversial, of their potential new child they're bringing into the fold, that usually that parent company or potential new parent company is going to take that child aside and say, hey, keep yourself on the down low right now. Don't do anything that's going to cause controversy and stuff. And then, and then after that, we see smoothness. We kind of see like a more positive direction once the parent takes that child aside and says, hey, put yourself in the down low. Let things go the way they should or have, and don't involve yourself unless it's needed. And I think that's what they're going to be doing with Vince, if not have done with Vince, in my opinion, maybe. But I got a feeling SmackDown will be a lot better. I think Raw will be a lot better. I mean, let's be honest. Even when Vince was losing it and everything and out of touch, we've had decent Raws and SmackDowns here and there. We can't deny that. Okay? So I think here we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine going forward. You just got to think positive, guys. And I'm not saying think positive, oh yeah, along the lines of, and don't think positive along the lines of, oh yeah, I'm positive. I'm positive it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Don't think along those lines. Think positive along the lines of, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. And, here's the thing too. My mom and I are born again Christians. My mom's a prayer warrior beyond belief. And she was told back when she was a kid by her mom, my grandma, my late grandma, that, when you get close to Easter, Resurrection Sunday, which is this Sunday, when you get closer to it, during what's known as Holy Week, that the enemy, the devil himself, likes to try to cause trouble. He likes to get into the minds of people. He likes to kind of manipulate things and try to ruin what is a celebration of what the Lord Jesus Christ did for us, on Good Friday, and on the cross, and then rising 3 days later on Resurrection Easter Sunday. She was told, and I'm sure others have been told this, that the enemy, the devil, Satan, loves to try to cause trouble and manipulate the minds. And this to me is just one of those ways that's happening, that he sees the worry that fans have. He sees the worries that fans who are born again Christians themselves, believers themselves. He sees the worries they have, and he's basically manipulating their minds. He's capitalizing on their fears, and you shouldn't let him do that. What you need to do is pray, give it to God, and say, look, I'm not going to let the enemy get a hold of my mind and ruin my enjoyment of wrestling and everything. I'm going to think positive. I'm going to pray, give it to God, that things will turn out fine in the near future. And believe me, you do that, and it will. But anyway, in closing on this, I don't think we have anything to really worry about, in my honest opinion. Now, let's talk about something else. Last night on AEW Dynamite, Jay White made his AEW debut or return if you will, where he's now part of the roster officially, along with Nigel McGuinness. They're both All Elite. And a lot of people want to say that Jay White, signed with AEW and debuted right away at the start of the show to kind of send a message of, hey, Triple H, this could have been you, but since your father-in-law decided to screw things up, I went here. Let me kind of disargue that for a little bit. All right? Yes, has there been speculation that Jay White could have shown up at WrestleMania? Absolutely. Was there speculation he could have showed up at Raw? And probably beaten Seth Rollins' next opponent and everything. Absolutely. But again, that's all speculation. It's all speculation. Is there truth that maybe Triple H reached out to him and talked to him? Oh yeah, I don't doubt he did. But I think honestly, Jay White going to AEW was in the cards from the beginning. It was. I think him going to AEW for quite some time was in the cards, ever since Forbidden Door last year. I think pretty much he was locked, sealed, and delivered at that time, in my opinion. And all he did was, all Jay White did, all Tony Khan did, all AEW did, and even those within WWE that probably thought this too, that were given information of, oh, Jay White might show up, we might get Jay White, probably, they probably got false information and they fed it to Fightful, they fed it to PW Insider and WrestleVolt and all them. But the truth is, I don't think Jay White was going to be WWE bound in the first place. I think he was always going to be AEW bound because, again, he had a taste of it at Forbidden Door. He had a taste of it leading up to Forbidden Door. And I think he liked it. I think he wanted more. But what he did after he did the honors in that Loser Leaves New Japan match and everything to, Hikuleo. And when he did that, guess what? He probably took time off, got his visa issues, in check and everything, as well as took time off to relax his body, heal up any, potential minor injuries or something like that he had. Took a break, and then when the time was right, made his debut. I mean, did he have to make his debut, right from the jump start on Dynamite? No, he didn't have to do that. But I think it was done for Tony Khan to basically, in his mind, take advantage of, hey, fans are going to probably head back towards me. They're going to probably want me now. They're going to probably crawl back to me. I know how to hook them. I'm going to have Jay White debut right off the bat. He may have, and maybe he had this plan from the get-go. We don't know. We don't know if he had it planned from the get-go or whatever. For all we know, he probably had Jay White planned to, or set to debut, I would say, maybe, I wouldn't say Double or Nothing. That's too far off. But I think January. Well, it is Easter. Like I said, it is Holy Week, the week before Easter. He probably had it planned. Like, he knew he was going to get a big crowd in UBS Arena in Long Island. So he probably figured, what better venue to do it in? Could he have waited to Double or Nothing? Absolutely. But, we don't know we don't know what would have happened or anything in between then. We don't know if Jay White would have been offered something more by WWE and got his lawyers to get him out of his new AEW deal or something. We don't know. Tony doesn't know that, but maybe that was on his mind. And he figured, okay, I got to debut him soon, but when do I debut him? And he was probably looking at April, there's no doubt. He was probably looking at April, and everything. But I think the reason he did it this way, is mainly because he wanted to get that momentum, that he knew he was going to get due to the controversy with WWE and everything. He wanted to get that momentum on his side. He wanted to get that on his side right away, without the risk of losing it. And he probably wanted to lock Jay White, and he wanted to pretty much send a message of, hey, Jay White's with me now. Jay White's with me. Nobody else can have him. Jay White's mine now. So, yeah, Jay White's All Elite, but everybody pretty much has come out and said that even though there has been speculation he might have been WWE bound, I think when he, as I mentioned, when he showed up for Forbidden Door, I think when he showed up, leading up to that and his appearances on AEW, I think pretty much we knew right then and there he was going to be AEW bound. I wouldn't be surprised if he was locked signed, sealed, and delivered at that time, but he couldn't, officially join until his New Japan contract was up this year. Yeah, I think he did sign an AEW contract, but he couldn't make it, official, a reality until he got out of his New Japan contract, and who knows how many days non-compete wise that was connected with, if you know what I mean. So I think he was already signed, sealed, and delivered. And I think Tony Khan could have debuted him at any time. He just felt, hey, I got this momentum probably heading my way now because of the controversy coming out of WWE. I'm going to take advantage of that. And that's what he did. So yeah, Jay White is all elite. What they do with him in the future, hopefully they treat him like the megastar, the top star people and fans feel that he needs to be treated as. Because if not, and he ends up basically being, regulated to Rampage and then Dark and Dark Elevation, that's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. Because then fans are going to be like, Tony, you wanted him and now you did this. Maybe he was better off in WWE even if it was run by Vince. That's what they're going to start thinking. Like maybe Jay should have just went to WWE and dealt with Vince's crap if that's the case. But hopefully Tony Khan realizes, hey, if I don't want to risk regretting this decision and getting the fans to backlash on me, I need to treat him well, and I think he will, just to make sure he doesn't, get that backlash and have Jay consider, hey, maybe I should have gone to the other side of the pond. The other news, of course, is AEW is going to the UK, as we knew they were this year, and one of the pay-per-view events in the UK is All In. That's right, it's All In, and it's going to be emanating from the 90,000 seat arena of, well, I wouldn't say arena, but the 90,000 seat Wembley Stadium. That's right, they are going to try to sell out Wembley Stadium. Now what's interesting, from what I understand, is this takes place a week, unless the dates change, and they could, this takes place a week right before All Out. That's right. All Out happens, the Sunday after All In. And that's interesting. Now let's say, hey, we're going to push All Out until, the Saturday after, like a week from the Saturday prior to All In. Unless they decide to do that, this is going to be huge. This is going to be huge in the pocket for fans. This is going to be huge in the pocket for fans because unless AEW decides to basically, talk with TBS and TNT and say, hey, we want to do an all-in special, from Wembley Stadium on Sunday and then do the all-out pay-per-view the following weekend, I can see that working. I can't. Just so they can, on a national, worldwide scale, show the world, show WWE, hey, look, we did what you said we couldn't do. Because we all have to remember that the emphasis for the all-in name is basically derogatory from basically, the all-in event that's pretty much laid the foundation for AEW when they sold out Chicago, when they showed at the Sears Center in Chicago, if you will. And now they're going to try to top themselves with Wembley Stadium. Will they be able to do that? I don't know. That's a big risk in my opinion. Hopefully, over time, in the months leading up to it, they'll be able to do it. They'll be able to get enough tickets sold and everything. I mean, the one thing about the UK fans and everything is just like some of the extreme hardcore fans here in the US, they love the wrestling. And they showed it even with Impact Wrestling TNA. When they would go over there and they would do live impacts or taped impacts, guess what? They would sell out the venues they were in. They sold out Wembley Arena several times. So the UK loves the wrestling. And to me, the best way you're going to be able to sell them out with star power on their end of the spectrum, you get Zack Sabre Jr. and you hopefully get a healed up Will Ospreay to show up and compete on that show. That's what you do. That's what you do. But, however, whatever main events they headline for it to really pack it, like, people are suggesting Punk against MJF, Punk against Omega, we'll have to see. But yeah, I'll give it to them. I got to give them credit. This is a big step up. This is a huge step up. Can they do it? Can they sell out a nearly 1 million seated venue? Can they do it? I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to basically subtract several seating areas, for the production, for like the screens, the trons and all that, the stage setup. That's true. But can they do it? Can they at least get close to 80? I would say, can they get close to at least 80,000? Because 10,000 of those seats are going to be taken up by what I just mentioned. Can they do it? I don't know. It's different than Arthur Ashe Stadium. The first time they did it, they sold out Arthur Ashe, 20,000 seats plus. Second time around, they couldn't do it. They were halfway there. Can they do what they did with Arthur Ashe, but double that, if not quadruple that, here with Wembely? I don't know. And to me, this is a big risk, financially and, financially, obviously, but also reputationally. It is a big risk. Reputationally and financially, it's a big risk for Tony Khan and AEW to take, because, if they don't sell out that venue, if they only sell out half of that venue, it's going to make them look Bush League. It's going to make them look like exactly what a lot of people said they are, a piss-at company that has been successful and lucky to exist for the past several years since its inception, and now now in front of the world, it just showed how much of a fool and how minor leagues they are. They got to avoid that. So they got to do between now and then, a big enough job of promoting this event as a big deal, to the point that fans are going to want to watch it. And if it's on TBS or TNT, not only have fans get invested to watch it, but to tune in all at the same time to watch it live when it happens. So, yeah, I wish them the best of luck. But we'll have to see where they go from this. We'll have to see where they go with this. But anyway, though, guys, those are just some of the 3 things I wanted to talk about from a wrestling standpoint. I will chapter them here. Give me your thoughts on each and every one of these things here from the, what's going to happen. What do you think Endeavor probably told Vince and everything? Your thoughts on Jay White. You think the deal was already set in stone all the way back at around Forbidden Door time? And what are your thoughts on AEW doing All In 2 at Wembly Stadium? Let me know what your thoughts are. I'll talk to you all later.